Well, welcome on this beautiful, yes, Monday morning as we share with you today's edition of Men on Monday. Yes, you saw it right there. Pastor Bino's book, The Eight Success Factors. And it's the book that we've been using to guide us through our Becoming a Better Man series. And you've been learning quite a bit along the way. So, as you've been learning, we also want to let you know that we have our Becoming a Better Man series, our conference coming up. 2 days. 2 days, and the cost is just $30. We've had our women be live on the show with us, our gentlemen be live with us, and we are encouraging you to make sure you purchase your passes and make sure that you register right now by calling 827-3029. We will be sharing it on our page so you won't be able to miss any of that information. And also feel free to also get Pastor Bino's book. So let me first again welcome our gentlemen today, Bishop Mark, Pastor Edison Bino, Minister Sinclair Brown. Good day, gentlemen. How are you today? How was your weekend
Hey, good day,
today?
Marissa. I'm good. I'm good. Going to let Bishop Mark, the senior, go ahead and bring greetings.
Well, I want to greet you this wonderful day. This indeed is the day that the Lord has made. I am surely going to rejoice and be glad in it. And I'm so very glad to be here with you this morning. So may God bless you all and welcome.
Blessing Monday morning to everyone. May your week be blessed. Continue to have a wonderful day. It's a pleasure. So look forward to the program being a blessing to you.
Go ahead, Pastor Bino. You can bring us some greetings and then,
Hey,
of course, do our introduction.
yeah, so a pleasant good morning to everybody. We've been talking about becoming a better man financially. So I just want to recap a couple of things that we would have talked about, piggyback on what Bishop Mark would have talked about. He would have talked about the importance of budgeting. And if you're going to become better men financially, then we have to know how to budget. We have to know how to deal with our income on our expenses. And then he talked about we gotta write down because sometimes we get money, we spend money, but then we can't find out. We really don't know where it has gone. And so it's important that we put down where the money is going. If in marriage, we can have our as it were our own money. The money is it's joint in that we pool the money together to take care of the financial responsibilities. It's not my money or her money in the marriage, but for purposes of things like credit rating and that kind of thing, it is good for every person to still have their own account, although the couple can have a joint account where they can use that as the operational account for dealing with certain transactions and so on. And yet it will still the other accounts will still allow the individual person to have a little of their own money, as it were, that they can spend how they feel like. Yeah, and that's agreed on. Where, for example, if you're working for $2,000, we might say, okay, 1,500 is for the management of the household, and then the other 500 we will split that between you and me. You could spend your 250 to do the little things that you want to do, get your nails done, get your hair done, pretty up, that kind of thing. I might go and attend a basketball game, whatever. Yeah. So there's agreement in terms of how the main bulk of the money will be spent. So these were the kinds of things that we were looking at. It's great to have Minister Sinclair because I want to hear how he would want to advise our men on the money, and he didn't get opportunity to be in the last program. So I think we should give way to him and allow him to share some of those real powerful principles that he would have learned over the years, and also in the counseling of men, because we did say that in marriage, money could be a problem, and that can create some serious challenges in the marriage and so on. So, Minister Sinclair, I don't know if you want to jump in and share with us.
Yes, please. I did recap on what you shared on last week, so I was listening to the program. And I just wanted to share with men, I do agree with budgeting. One of the things, I remember being with Bishop Mark, Love and Light Ministry International, one of the main things we always talk about was budgeting. We always talk about budget. But I want to say also that for ministers and other persons out there, I think we need to have a class. I mean, like literally, like sit down sheet thing with the men because I want to tell somebody the budget. right? And it's good advice, but some we can take for granted that because I say that I can do it. But it's very difficult for some people to budget. Some it's just natural because they're raised with a mother. Remember, Bishop Mara always mentioned his mother would say, you know, put no 5 cents, put no 5 cents. But even in counseling, I'm telling you, there's some mothers or there's some people or some influence I would say to people, oh, you can't get nothing if you don't go into debt. So there's some people that know, and I have to deal with this where I got people that under 30, $60,000 in debt. You know, they borrowed money to get married, they this thing and that thing. And it came from a culture in the home of, when payday was like Christmas, the end of the month is like Christmas. I gotta spend my money, I gotta make sure I enjoy my money. All right. And not understanding something called sacrifice and investment and those type of principles. Because it's okay to say work, but the end of when I get paid, I need to do this, but can I afford to do this? Because if we're in debt, we can't afford to also be in debt at the same time say, well, enjoy my money. As good stewards of God's kingdom, we should pay people their money. You know what I mean? We can't owe people because we took out furniture, took out a television 2 years ago. We have red letters, but you know what? I think I need to borrow money to go on a vacation. Those are the type of things that we have to sit down with people and hold, especially men. We talk about headship, because it just can't be men being headship as far as, because we are men, as far as devotions and worship, but finances. We need to have our men having strong spinal columns, especially when it comes to finances. One of the things that I also advise men when they are on their journey, also choosing a spouse that is financially sensible. Because if a person's not good with their money, they're not going to be good with your money, right? And there's nothing worse when you have two people that are not financially sensible. It's easy to get in debt because this place that provides finances or short-term finances with high interest rates, you know what I mean, are normally targeted people that don't have financial sense. So it's easy to say, oh, let me borrow this $5,000 and we get paid off in 3 months. If you could have paid it off in 3 months, you would not be looking to get this quick cash. You would be looking to get this cash, with compound interest and all those things. And many times we go and we say, oh, you can't get nothing unless, but credit ratings, once again, is normally based on other things. So I tell people, you get something at a small price. You don't have to get, $3,000 furniture to get a credit rating. Go and get something at $50 and pay it off. You know what I mean? Get something for $200 and pay it off. So your name is down, your credit rating is great, as Bishop Mark mentioned last week Monday. So when you go for mortgage, your credit rating is good. You get a lower interest. You're better trusted in all types of things that going into there. So that is where we want to contribute from last week. That one, I think we need to actually have practical classes. I mean, like logistic. Don't assume that a person, although they're grown, that they know how to do a budget. And I think that would help a lot of other men and a lot of our women, because by the time they meet us as men, the man already has some level of understanding of money. He knows how to write it down. He knows how to record it. And also, he probably would have chosen somebody that is on board with him, because there's no sense you start a budget and do this, and you got somebody now that just the money flowing going out through the window. That's going to cause a conflict in March.
Yeah, but it's very interesting that you mentioned the debt. You see, and that is why we come back to the whole reason for budgeting, because what the budgeting does, and you're right in terms, we probably need to do maybe have some training in it, because even when I do counseling, I let the couple, I give them the ability to go. I try to get them to go and do it themselves, but then they go come back to me and I see what they produce, and I can add some input and so on. But this thing of debt is very real, because a lot of times too, it starts when people want to get into the marriage and want a big wedding and all of that, and then bring that debt into the scenario. So that's why it's important that the budgeting starts for a long time before that. And as you were saying, you have to look at how people are dealing with money when there's no wedding yet planned or there's no engagement that has been made, so that you get an idea. I remember years ago, and maybe it was not the best thing to do, but when I was courting, or I had a girl I was interested in, I would take her out and I got all the money in my pocket. And I mean, it wasn't a Christian then, right? So forgive me if I tell a little lie, but I would tell her straight. I would go right by the place. In those days, Chafette was pretty cheap too, like 78 and 79. And I would go and say, like, oh, shoot, I short with $5. You can help? Man, if she can't help my play, look in the cubby hole and I will fix it. No more there after that, right? Because
That's a good. I like that. That's a good thing. I like it. Thank you. I like that.
because what I would do, I want test to see if you just about eating stack boxes out of me. So I would do those kind of things, right? So it is important that you bring up these things long before you get into this thing, because you feel people, so you know it's all about. But having done that, I think why the budgeting helps is that it gives you some good practical stuff, because you have to write down, you have to look at it, you have to see what you're doing. And then when the person want to jump out and do their own thing, having a budget, you're better able to have a stronger argument before actually trying to come over like somebody who don't want to spend any money. But look, if we have made this arrangement, if you decided on this, well, if you pull this from here now, it is going to cause some trouble. So that's why it is good to have something written down, because when you're going by how you feel, or he's stingy, he didn't want to do this, she don't like that, you're going with a lot of your own feelings. But when you can see the facts, right now, everything, when you can see the facts, you will have your criminal, quote unquote, to then want to stick out. Then you would have already sat down and see the pros and cons of whatever decision that you're making. And debt, you must do the debt right. And I like what you said, Sinclair. You don't have to go and buy a $5,000 fridge to pay it off to show that you're credit ready. Do little things. I tell people, if you can afford to pay for something cash, actually go and buy it and pay the 3 months. The 3 months cash. Some stores do that. Give you the 3 months. If you pay it off in 3 months, you get the cash price. So you do that and pay it off in the 3 months. So when you go, if things are tight, you have a credit rating there. So these are all the things that have to come together to alleviate challenges. And this whole thing about people saying, "Oh, I work for my money, so I should get something out of it." If you're in a relationship and you get it something, your money, you're pooling the resources, so you will get something, and you don't go crazy and fight all the time. That'd be my 3 cents.
Yeah, I must agree there that it's the management of money from before
Yeah.
relationship, before
Long.
marriage, because
Yeah.
because a lot of people, and I think that now that we have a better understanding, sometimes in days past you wouldn't have had these thorough or in-depth conversations about where
Mhm.
you stand on money, and also how
Yeah.
people view money. Because if someone sees, and this is very key for women, especially when you see that a man is very excited about payday and in another week there's no money, that's something really alarming. Because then what is your future going to look like? What is it going to look like when children come along? All of
Mhm.
these factors have to be considered. What happens if you get sick, you have to go to the doctor? Are there resources there to make sure that you can attend to the matters at hand? So I think that that's important. And the truth is that I believe, from my experience, when a man can manage his money, he seems a little more secure. When he can manage his money, he seems a little more secure. So it is not the incompetencies of, oh, there's no money, and then the relationship feels the aches and pains of it, but the management of it, because then he's better able to manage the family and other responsibilities that come along the way. Pastor Edison Bino, go ahead.
Minister Sinclair mentioned something that was important. Listen, there are some companies that would jerk out your eye with high interest loans. And you'll be amazed that some people making a lot of money income wise, but then they're desperate for some kind of loan. So you got to understand that there are different ways of calculating the interest on loans. When you take a loan from an institution other than a bank, you got to be prepared, or other than the credit union, you got to be prepared to pay some high interest. Yeah. And so you have to be careful with high interest loans because you're paying out of a lot of money. Some people like to take out things on higher purchase. Obviously, they want to be able to manage the cash flow and so on. And sometimes that may be needed. But as Sinclair said, sometimes you have to be willing to save up, defer, and then be willing to buy the thing cash. Yeah. But sometimes if you look at the amount of money that you pay for that item when you take it on a higher purchase, it is a considerable amount of money that you're paying. And then another thing too is that sometimes people have credit card and they put the vacation on the credit card. They don't have the money to pay off the credit card, but they will put the vacation on the credit card. They will put this thing on the credit card, and then they get into the debt trap. That is something that you got to be careful with. Yeah, we're not saying that you cannot use a credit card, but the wisest way to use a credit card is that you already have the money, but it's a purchase that would require a credit card. For example, if you're renting a vehicle, you would need to many times rent a vehicle with the use of a credit card, especially when you're overseas and that kind of thing. But you should have the money available. So I think it's important. We're not saying that you can't use a credit card, but you have to be careful because the interest rate on a credit card is higher. And let me tell you, I had to go through this, yeah, where you have some significant cash flow issues, and then you were forced to use that as an instrument. But you still have to have a strategy for how you're going to get out of that. So sometimes you can go to the bank and you can decide, I'm going to get a loan to pay off the credit card. That way you can pay a lower rate of interest. So you got to look at some practical things that you can do. But one of the dangers is that people feel I have a credit card and they feel good. I go into the restaurant, I flash my credit card, I pay. I go into this place, I flash my credit card. I can be the one to pay for the drinks and the food and all sort of things. So then we go crazy and we don't regulate the spending, not recognizing that when our bill come in, it got to be paid. And the interest is cumulative, is compound. So basically it is calculated every day. So you have to understand that that's going to hurt you financially. So don't feel that you have to splurge on the credit card or take out the high interest loan. Avoid those high interest loans. If it is not a bank, if it is not a credit union, try to avoid those kinds of places. Yeah, you're going to end up paying a very high rate of interest for that privilege. Yeah,
All
Marissa,
right. So
go ahead.
we are discussing Men on Monday, becoming a better man. We're looking at finances, and just to help you along with becoming a better man, Bishop Edison Bino he's also authored a book, and that book is titled "The 8 Success Factors for a Healthy Life," and you can get it today, and it's available on Amazon. And I also want to remind you that make sure that you take advantage of these opportunities to learn more. And also to be healthy, becoming a better man also means being healthy. So stay with us. We're going to tell you more also about our upcoming Men on Monday conference. Don't you miss it. We encourage every one of you to be a part of it. The details coming up as we continue to share with you more right here on Men on Monday.
We're back.
So there you have it. Make sure you visit the folks over at Healthy Cottage and make sure that you take advantage of being a better you.
We like the music, but the music like it don't want to stop.
I don't know what's happening there. I really don't know what's happening there. So we continue right now. Yes, Sinclair getting his say in. But we also want to let you know that we have our Men on Monday conference coming up, and it's important for you to take advantage of the knowledge. I am sure that some of you are in here after the last couple of sessions and even over the past couple of years, hearing these men and along with our guests, know that we've learned so much. And so we are having our Becoming a Better Man conference, which is happening on June 17th and June 18th. On Friday night, on June 17th, it will be via Zoom. It's a session for only men. Only men. And it's going to be happening via Zoom. sex, money, and men. And these men will be sharing on it. I will not be in the session. Women will not be allowed in the session. It's for the men to have a safe space to discuss and have all their questions answered. And then, what is that? Sinclair is laughing at. And then on Saturday, we'll be in person at Restoration Ministries International. And it's in person. He says, I'm not there. So I guess that's why he's celebrating. But it will be in person on Saturday, the 18th. And it will be two sessions at 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock, and we'll have light refreshments being served also during this session. It is just $50. And that's a nominal cost for us to be able to just cover some expenses so that we can make sure we offer this to you. And it's on Saturday the 18th. From 3 o'clock, Restoration Ministries. We're looking at understanding fatherhood, God, your father, and how that rolls into you being a better father. And Minister Sinclair, Pastor Bino will be sharing, taking care of that session. And then we'll have Bishop Mark Herod, closing us out at 5 o'clock. The man of purpose, understanding purpose, walking in purpose, what it does to you, what it does to your community, what it does to your family when that man walks in purpose. So make sure that you register by calling 827-3029. Women who are listening, this is the time now for you to invest in the men in your life. Could be your son, could be your nephew, could be your husband, even a man in church. Invest in them. That number 827-3029. So let's continue. We are talking about finances. And one of the questions that really dawned on me is, when you have healthy finances, or are you in we all have our responsibilities financially, but what does a house look like, a home look like, even your church look like when we understand how our finances and managing them, if I can even say that, helps our home, helps our community. Pastor Bino, let's start with you.
Well, I actually wanted to start with Minister Sinclair because I would have been talking a fair amount and giving, some principles there. And I think that this one is really up his alley as far as the effect on family, because I do think that you have to be, even from a personal point of view, the peace of mind that you have when you're able to take care of your financial responsibilities, the ability to deal with certain conflicts, because certain conflicts are eliminated when you have adequate amount of money that could pay your different financial responsibilities. Think of the amount of people that during COVID would have been hit hard, and the amount of stress that would have created. So I think that not having the finances, and especially with the rising cost of living, those things can put a lot of pressure on people, could lead to depression and that type of thing, discouragement, and frustration, because you're really wondering what is happening, and it can challenge your faith too, because you're wondering, is God Jehovah Jireh? Is God able to provide? I'm not seeing things happen right away, so then people can become fearful and anxious and that kind of thing. So I just want to hear Minister Claire, from the counseling perspective, tackle that particular area.
For me, I'm very passionate about finance when it comes, because raised in an environment, I tell people, I'm very open about that. We were the poor people in the poor neighborhood. My mother is hearing impaired. She's deaf. She raised two kids. Fathers were not majorly involved in our lives. So, grandmother, mother, and sister, and myself. So, I was a very contented child, to be quite honest. So, as you hear many people talk about not recognizing you're poor until you compare yourself to somebody else. But I was kind of a Tom Sawyer person. So, I had my cheap shoes. By the time I finished, everybody in class wanted cheap shoes like me, because my shoes are plastic, and they would run a slide really far. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, kids like, "Mommy, want a pair of shoes like them." Like, you try and get care, boy, right? So I always had a different mindset, but understanding that that was not the position that you want to be in, necessarily. So many people that want to glorify the poverty perspective. Yes, there are things you learn in being poor. There's a lot of lessons in that. But I type of trade poor. I don't want to do it. Sorry. You know what I mean? Let me try something different. And it really matters is that when the church now has resources, I mean individuals have resources that understand how to manage resources. We don't have to be doing fish cakes or washing cars. Because we claim that our God owns the cattle and tumbles and hills, and it sounds cute, but we're not seeing the evidence of that, right? Because we still have poor money management. You know what I mean? We are still having the debt collector come to our houses. I remember when the debt collector had to come to my house for something, and I was paying him, and I said something about Jesus, and the man looked at me and said, "You're a Christian?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, I always remember that. The hum that he did pierced my heart. You know what I mean? Because it was like, oh, when the Christians, I want to owe people money, right? So I share that without shame. I'm just saying to us because someone figure, oh, y'all talking, but y'all don't know hardship. Trust me, I know what tuna on Sunday looks like. You understand? So we have to understand the kingdom of God, and you are quite correct that having financial challenges can impact a marriage. Challenges should bring us together, but once again, we don't have the tools, so many challenges bring us apart. So if we don't have good money management as men, and likewise having good money management as women, because I'm telling you, if we have bad money management, and we talk about men's program here, we talk about yes, men having bad money management, but if you're married to someone who has bad money management, you could start to budget and fund and this and that, and the money going south. So part of when I'm doing the financial, the counseling, I'm very big on the finances. And sometimes they said, okay, I don't think you should get married based on the finances. And some people say, oh, but we're going to work this out. And I said, it's up to you, but I'm saying from my end, I'm seeing something here that's a challenge. Because don't think marriage is going to fix, but sorry, the wedding. Don't think the wedding is going to fix, you understand, your behaviors. And even some people would sit in counseling and give a nice spreadsheet. Because they go a good spreadsheet, we might think, oh, this person budgeting well, but they ain't doing nothing on that spreadsheet. You understand? There are people that would easily go and spend money, although they know I owe this body $50. I had to tell someone recently, um, call the person that you owe, call the company, call them to listen. I owe you $10, right? Call them before they call you. I owe you $10. I can't give you the some this month, but I'm going to give you $2 on next Thursday. I give you $1 next week, and I'm going to give you $5. They'll record it. And likewise, you make yourself accountable. You don't hide from the people. You took the people's things. And we got to get away from this poverty mindset that we have people owe us things. Oh, I pay these people for 10 years, and because I owe them $5, they call in my house. You owe the people. We need to stop this, right? And it is a challenge because when we do find ourselves in the kingdom of God and we are struggling, it's hard to support the kingdom of God. And just a little caveat here, remember when it was first, once again, I spent a lot of time with two of these men in church, so recall these two my experiences. But I remember when it was with Bishop Mark and we were doing men's ministry, right? It was no married, young married, no understanding kingdom of God, trying to find out who I am. And it was a men's ministry. And remember, there was a time you mentioned about us giving a stipend, to support the men's ministry at that time. I honest to God, I didn't have the $10. I didn't, to even put the stipend in, right? And it would have come over as though I'm being difficult or being if you're trying to do can't find $10. Trust me, I can find $10. And that is you're looking at a grown man, married, have children, but sometimes the finances are that tight that sometimes it may seem as though you can't give $10. However, here's the difference where we're training men because they will have hormones, they will like a girl, they will have a family. So my thing for youth ministry is learning budgeting at that age. It means sit down, literally, like bill, phone bill, water bill. You know what I mean? Stop playing games. You understand? We got this games night thing is foolishness. Play games when you're in your own time. The church should be building kingdom men so that when women meet them, they're already on a journey. They're already going somewhere financially. You understand? So I remember, my son probably shoot me. But I remember my son where he was on a journey financially, and I know he liked someone, but he was telling the girl, "I cannot spend time with you because financially I'm building out something." And because she was like, "Oh, you're spending time with me, you're spending time with me, you're spending time with me," that went through the roof because he was focusing, trying to build his resources because he was going somewhere. And I was very proud of him. I'm just saying it could be harsh because when we give a relation, because he says, I am not in that position to spend time with you because I'm trying to build this. And some of it would come over as though I don't care. No, actually, that is a man that actually has a vision. That is a man that is going somewhere. And as you want to have that person is disciplined enough to say, okay, I can't do this because I'm doing that. And I think we need to spend some time with our men to make our women not be complaining about us, especially church men. Yeah, and I think we need to from 13 of the age 25 budgeting. Just one more thing. I remember when I first was there at Level, I remember he was the charge of drama also. I remember, oh, you're in charge of drama, Sinclair. I want to give me a budget for the Christmas production. And I tried to figure what Bishop Mark talking about. On me a budget, I trying to figure out, you know what I mean? But take this thing and show Bishop Mark. I'm like, what's this man give me? I ain't know what this man want. Like, why I know the lights cost $5, this cost $6. You know what I mean? I know the get it, man. Because I wasn't accustomed. I'm saying to you. This is where I believe the church, where we should be building the men, these budgets, these simple things. I'm tired of men being called or look like we're Neanderthals, especially Kingdom of God. And I think it's very vital that we start to teach men. These they might be simple, we might gloss over them because we make assumption that we say budget and do this and do that, and we think that the nitty-gritty that people even shake their head like they know what you're talking about. But I'm sure if you test some of us, we don't know what to put in a slot. I remember even I was talking to people and talking about deposits, credits, savings. I personally just put my money in the bank. I just ask me put my savings or this like I know what I'm talking about. I talking about a lady and she's 26 or 27. She was like, I don't know what you mean. And I had to explain the difference between savings and shares deposits. You know what I mean? And this is something we can't take for granted in the kingdom of God.
Yeah, I can jump in quickly because I think you've said quite a bit, and that is true. Some true stuff there, and we got to start deal with our youngsters from young. But I also want to add to the whole scenario here today, this point. Don't care sometimes how good you budget, though. There will always be things that will come to throw you off the stick. And one of the things that I always say to people is, don't mind, and especially when you come into a relationship, don't mind what you used to do. If you want to be by yourself, stay by yourself. If you come into a relationship and what you used to do, it is what is required. One, do not live above your means, right? You never got a new car. You got your little old one that you could go to a good mechanic and keep running for the time being. Look forward and budget for that new car. But don't go and change your new car because you see somebody. So one of the things that is very important to budgeting is to not live above your means. Right? The only thing that should push you to live above your means is if something come where health is concerned. Something come that is vitally, you can't live without it, oxygen, whatever. And so it's important because a lot of times people want to live. I'll tell you what I mean. When I have counseled people who the first time when they talk about budgeting, they say they're going to the bank and borrow $20,000 to get married. And I tell you, if you would have seen my face, had I got in falsely, I would have, I remember all my teeth would have dropped on the ground. Because I could not believe that people are going into a marriage and going to a bank for $20,000 or credit union to do what? To feed people. That when you go back home and they're saying, what a wonderful wedding, you they look nice. The couple in the house quarreling and fighting or go find a way to carry back the dress. So it is important as part of the budgeting process, right? Because you can learn all the things you got. I've seen that cause problems too, where one particular person into so much budget that the lady can't go and buy a kerchief, you know, or the fella can't go with the fellas and buy a drink because there's so much budget. You see, and that's why he's saying they always got to be balanced because you got real budget. And I have a couple before budget that the lady said when the guy go out, he would choose places to eat by the budget. So you budget for the wedding and you gotta go at night, you feel hungry and want snack box. No, you better hold a chicken sandwich, right? So the budget, if you can't overboard, can also be a challenge. But you need to realize, look, this is something we are building. It's going to take time. It's going to take results. And there will be times, I tell people this, because sometimes you could be well-to-do and still in trouble. There will be times when the dollars are going to appear short. But that is where now you have to say to yourself, hey, let us compromise here. Look, we were doing dinner 3 times a week. We can go hold back on one. It doesn't mean I love you less. You know, we can have to buy the groceries and let us cook because it's cheaper to cook and have a nice candlelight dinner in our little gallery than to be going to these places and spending money. So things like that. And it has to be a practical thing. And it has also to encompass the desires of persons. You don't want to shut down a person's desire for a movie night. And you know, the ladies like it to go and choose maybe got 15 bras already, but they might see one that on a special. So you have to have open discussions and have some flexibility in whatever budget, because you still have to consider the other person. Because I've seen people done the budget well, boy, and you can't do nothing outside that budget, even if you can die. And so we cannot be slaves to these things. But that is why we always say on this program, communication. And don't start as you decide to court, get married, engaged. You do all of these things long before you get to that point.
Or otherwise, that sometimes the budget is so strained that one person is favored over the other.
Over the other, yeah.
So, for example, where sometimes, let's talk about the woman wanting to have, treat herself, or the man deciding that the car has to be fixed. And yes, the car has to be fixed, but every month something has to be done to the vehicle that he deems more important. And so one person may be favored over another, or something that is more for one person than the other. So there must really be a balance when it comes to understanding finance. And not only that, I think about the fact that you want to create future generations that understand how money can work for us and that it shouldn't work against us. So sometimes, as something that Sinclair said earlier, when payday comes around, it is the excitement of the payday. So for them, you do you spend off everything, and then you have nothing left. So you don't want your future generations to see a paycheck only in that light. Yes, you should be excited to see a paycheck, but it shouldn't be only in that light that you see the paycheck and there are no plans that you stick to, or there's no balance for the rest of the month, or you then or you see finances as always to go to a lending institution. But also the importance of investment in yourself, the investment in yourself, whether it is in a course, whether it's also in learning a skill, something. But the investment in self also is an enhancement for you and also for the family. So I think we need to understand our relationship with money. I've often heard Sinclair say that, understanding how you understand money and how a spouse understands money, because there's nothing worse than one person who is trying to save, trying to keep on track, and when you look across, the husband is swiping the credit card constantly, and you're thinking you're getting it down, but then or the lady, yes, Bishop Mark, and I was just making a statement. You guys are something else. But one person is swiping the card, while one person is trying to keep the credit card managed under better management. Or worse yet, I want to really talk about this: the joint accounts and saving. When one, you have that joint account, you're trying to save, build for something, and a person, because they know there is money there, thinks that it's a free for all show. Money's there, and that's why sometimes you would often hear some spouses say, "I don't want a joint account," or you would often hear them say, "This is my money, that is your money." Let's talk about that before we end our show today. Sinclair.
Well, we didn't hear Bishop Bino for Pastor Boyle for a while, so let him jump in
Well,
there.
but the thing is, I was almost on a different tangent because Marissa would have mentioned so many different things. And I wanted to comment on some of those. Like, for example, yeah, finances also has to do with where you're going in life. And therefore, you have to have a vision. And you mentioned self-development. A lot of people don't understand. When I pay money to invest in my knowledge and skill development and so on, I am increasing my ability to earn more. I'm increasing the possibility of me getting a promotion. Those kinds of self-development things will help me to do better financially. So I think that that's important, a very important part. You got to have a vision for your life, and you have to invest in yourself, in developing your ability to earn more by learning knowledge and skills and so on. And then you mentioned something here, generational wealth. Oh gosh, that's a big one. That is a big one because many times, unfortunately, sometimes as a Black people, we don't think about generational wealth. Other cultures understand it, but we don't understand it enough. You look at a number of Black businesses, they don't last, some of them don't last beyond a generation. And that should not be the case. Not saying that your children have to be the one to take over necessarily, but I'm saying that there should be some continuation. We have to understand legacy. And there are different ways that you can create legacy. And that's something that you have to think about. You might create legacy by but you have an insurance policy. When you die, that money goes to your children. That's creating legacy. You can have legacy by deciding, okay, the house that I have, I'm gonna rent it out and generate some income. We're gonna put the money aside for whatever. We have to think generational. No, no. Here's the interesting thing. And let me say this and shut up because we're running out of time. But who would have thought that the church would have been around for hundreds and even thousands of years? Who would have thought that? We really do not know when Jesus Christ is going to return. And yes, we're anticipating that he's going to come back soon. But let's say Jesus does take a while to come back. What is it that we're going to do in that time frame? Yeah, as I said, the early church did not anticipate that it will be hundreds of years and we will still be in the earth. So imagine if somebody had revelation, had vision that potentially we might be around for a little while. Then, therefore, we needed to have thought about generational wealth, because then there will be churches that would need those resources, families that would need those resources, and so on. Remember, we came out of slavery, and slaves were to have nothing, be nothing, own nothing. And I think that many of us have adopted that mentality that we're to have nothing. So then, as Sinclair pointed out, then we got to do the fish cake sales and those kinds of things, because people ain't really got no money to put into the work of the kingdom. Yeah. And it takes millions of dollars to get the gospel around the world. You look at other religions, they are generating that kind of wealth, and they're putting their wealth into different economies so that they can expand their religious ideology. And then sometimes we in the church, we want to look good. We want to get that hat and that dress and that shirt and that suit and that kind of thing. And whereas other people invest in money to propagate their religion, we just struggling and barely getting by. So you open the door there for something, but I know we're running out of time. But I just wanted to highlight those couple of things.
You still want to hit the savings and the thing?
Let's
The
go.
savings
Let's go.
and the joint
Yeah,
account?
We have just about 6.
Yeah.
Go
All
ahead.
right, give me 60 seconds.
Left. Go ahead.
60
yeah,
seconds
yeah.
and y'all can have the rest. Savings, vitally important. Joint accounts are very useful because it gives persons some space to breathe. I don't want every time that my wife needs to go and buy a bra or she want a pair of shoes, she on special, we got to hold a meeting and determine, call the neighbor or call Sinclair for counseling, whether she should spend $100 per thing. But so therefore, if you have the savings, you leave that, don't be covetous about your own savings. You know that's for a rainy day. You have your little freedom where you still own account, which you don't hide from your partner. You do not hide your account from your partner. It is yours, yes, but it's ours. You see what I'm saying? So you have it to have a little freedom, but when you put that money inside to deal with the thing, and always there must be savings. That is my 3 cents. I hope I didn't past 60 seconds.
I ain't got nothing more to add to that. I think that's great. I think that you should have the
My thing, honestly, you said something, Bishop Bino. That two things quickly. Insurance. Want to be fair, insurance. But if we only teach people about insurance, we can actually change the wealth of our people in 3 generations. Yeah. And you should have a vision beyond yourself. If your vision is going to die with you,
All
it's not
about
really
you.
a vision.
Yeah.
Your purpose should be bigger than you.
Bigger than you. Yeah. Good word. Great word to end point. Yeah. Good word.
Yeah, some real nuggets coming forth today, and next week. I don't want to stop. I don't want us to stick here. I want to talk about generational wealth and understanding the importance of leaving a legacy and also creating one and being able to leave that legacy financially for your family. I want to talk also about the men investing in themselves, because it is important that we invest in ourselves, and understanding that there's nothing wrong with studying. There's nothing wrong with taking up a new skill or enhancing a skill. Maybe you've been a carpenter and you've understood some basics, but you've seen the trade improve or become advanced over the years. There's nothing wrong with taking up another course and going on 1 evening or 2 evenings a week or a day, and enhancing yourself. You're an accountant. You've seen some new practices being come in place. Maybe you can enhance yourself. Maybe you can teach lessons. All of these ways we are talking about being able to improve on yourself and also better your family. So I want to say thanks to all of you who've been viewing with us this morning. We've been looking at finances and men. Don't forget that our Becoming a Better Man conference continues on June 17th. That's on Friday night via Zoom at 8 p.m. We're talking about sex, money. Well, not me. The men are talking about sex, money, and men. I won't be in that Zoom. I might just grace you with my presence at the beginning, and then I'll take my leave. But the men will have their say. No women allowed. I'm being adamant about that. No women allowed in that session. The men are free to ask their questions, and feel free to be in a safe space to ask their questions and have their questions answered. So feel free to make sure you register by calling 827-3029. The cost is $30 for the both sessions. Don't want to miss one and not the other. And then on Saturday the 18th at Restoration Ministries, starting from 3 o'clock, and then at 5 o'clock, two sessions. You don't want to miss it. 3 o'clock, you'll have Pastor Bino, Minister Sinclair, who'll be taking care of that session, talking about fatherhood, understanding God, your father. And Bishop Mark will be closing the evening out with the man of purpose. And that's happening on the 18th, Restoration Ministries. And of course, you must register because our COVID-19 protocols will be in place and we need you to pre-register. Women who are with us, this is the time for you to invest in the men, invest in your nephew, your son, your husband, on that evening. And we haven't been together for a long time. So now is the time to come out in a good, clean, and free environment where the men will learn from each other. And we'll also have some giveaways, if I can add that, some giveaways also for the men. So thank you so much for joining us today for today's edition of Men on Monday. Thanks to Bishop Mark. Thanks to Minister Sinclair Brown and also Pastor Bino. Don't forget to check him out for his new book, The 8 Success Factors for a Healthy Life, and also Healthy Cottage, the folks over in St. George with Minister Sinclair Brown. And Bishop Mark, he didn't tell you that, but he does lessons. He has lessons. That's how he's also building wealth too. Lessons, of course. We have some students who are taking up their maths exams, CXC exams next week. So we're looking forward to them doing some great work. That has been today's show of Men on Monday. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, viewers, for sharing the morning with us, and have a great weekend.